Unexpected triumph. Maid's child outsmarts 500M AI CEO's touching response revealed everything. Mia stared at the flickering screen, the code lines blurring into half-formed dreams of a life beyond their cramped apartment. Her heart raced, caught between two worlds, the one her mother had built through relentless toil, and the one shimmering just out of reach as a prestigious coding competition hung in the air like a tantalizing mirage. What if they saw her? The cleaner-s kid, the invisible girl in this high-stakes tech landscape. Would they listen when she spoke? Or would they just see her mother's uniform in her eyes? As her fingers hovered above the keyboard, she felt an unfamiliar pulse of determination, yet a wave of guilt washed over her. Elena worked tirelessly, scrubbing floors in the soaring glass towers of a tech firm where millions flowed, and here was Mia, dreaming of conquering their algorithms. Would it betray the sacrifices made? She blinked back the swelling emotions, a desire for something greater and a fear of leaving her mother behind, lost in a world that seemed further from her reach. With each line of code she composed that I in the evenings, alongside her mother, as they swept and dusted in the vast, sleek offices that smelled of new beginnings, Mia felt the weight of a responsibility pressing her to stay grounded. There, she found a spark. The way technology hums to life fascinated her. But could her dreams overshadow her mother's sacrifice? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days morphed into weeks, and the competition loomed larger, filling Mia with an unbearable longing and paralyzing fear. Each question from her classmates sliced like glass. You think you can win? You're just a cleaner-s kid. Their laughter echoed in her mind like a taunt, each chuckle simmering in the molten core of her ambition. In quiet moments, doubt coiled tightly around her heart. What if they were right? What if she stumbled on stage, the warmth of her mother's loving gaze now just a distant memory? That evening, Elena came home visibly worn, the weight of the world etched in the grooves of her face. As they sat in their cluttered living room, Mia's gaze drifted over the faded family pictures and reminders of dreams long since set aside. Pushing through the fog of sadness, she found herself voicing her fears, feeling as vulnerable as a delicate glass figurine. What if I fail, Mom? What if they see me as just a maid's daughter? Elena's tired eyes met hers, and despite her exhaustion, a fierce glow ignited in her gaze. Mia, being humble doesn't make you lesser, it's the fire inside you that matters. It's not about where you come from, it's about having the bravery to chase your dreams. Those words ignited something in Mia, and while the competition drew closer, the nagging weight of societal constraints knotted in her stomach. The pressure to perform became almost suffocating, leaving her trapped between her aspirations and the echoes of self-doubt. The day arrived, anxiety swirling wildly as she took the stage. The crowd's breath held tightly in that moment. She faced the daunting challenge of outsmarting an AI born from her mother's workplace. Doubt crept in, each heartbeat echoing against the silence. And then, the unexpected happened. The imposing CEO stepped forward, sharing a story of perseverance, drawing an unexpected parallel to her journey. Stunned, Mia felt both terror and exhilaration surge through her. Could this be an opening? As the crowd leaned in, the questions flared wildly in her mind. Would this moment solidify her into something greater, or would it shatter beneath the burden of all she represented? In the heart of the storm, as the tension thickened, Mia stood at the precipice of her destiny, uncertain yet fiercely determined to prove that she was more than simply a maid's daughter. The air crackled with possibilities as the world seemed to hold its breath. Mia, suspended between hope and dread, awaited her moment. Would she seize it, or would the chains of her past pull her back into the shadows? As the CEO's words echoed around her, Mia felt a jolt of energy surge through her. She wasn't just another participant, this was her moment to step beyond the constraints of expectation. The initial chaos of nerves began to fade, replaced by a relentless determination. She had spent countless nights poring over codes, dissecting problems like a surgeon to flesh out their solutions. The flickering light from her laptop formed a luminescent backdrop against memories of sleepless nights, her mother's passionate stories about her own past echoing in parallel. Now is not the time for doubt, Mia murmured to herself, feeling the warmth from the spotlight wash over her. She straightened her posture, pushing through the familiar weight of anxiety. This wasn't just a competition, it was a declaration. A chance to assert herself and carve out her identity amidst a landscape that threatened to crush her spirit. The tech-savvy audience had gathered to witness her engage directly with a complex AI designed with the mindset of a seasoned developer. She inhaled, focusing on the intricacies of problem-solving that had always mesmerized her. The hum of the crowd faded, replaced by the quiet rhythm of her heartbeat. She remembered her mother's unwavering support and the sacrifices made to ensure Mia had this chance. As she began to engage with the AI, her mind raced, darting through algorithms and potential solutions. The program had a sleek interface, a polished voice that connected with her like a dance partner in a choreographed routine. Each prompt from the AI challenged her creativity, prompting her to dig deeper into her understanding of logic and structure. With each right answer, the room shifted. Gasps of surprise replaced condescension. She could hear the undertones of disbelief turning into curiosity. Mia's thoughts collided into a revelation: she had the ability to push boundaries and redefine her narrative. The AI posed a question that had stalled previous competitors, and for a moment, doubt began to whisper again. What if you mess this up? What if they really see you as nothing more than what you came from? She clenched her jaw, letting the insecurity wash over her like a storm before channeling it into focus. This was where she would silence that voice, trusting her knowledge and intuition. She remembered her mother's words, bravery to chase dreams. With a confident flick of her fingers, she navigated through the variables, planting her ideas firmly within the logic of the AI's constraints. One swift final command and the program rebooted, revealing her solution bold, dynamic, and utterly unexpected. The audience erupted into applause, a wave of recognition crashing upon her. Mia stood in the center of the stage, breath misting in shock interlaced with exhilaration. She had transformed from the cleaner's daughter to a contender who wrestled with and emerged victorious over the very technology that overshadowed her existence. The previous laughter, the taunts, they evaporated, replaced by respect and intrigue. Yet even as she relished this triumph, a sense of urgency clawed at her. She realized that the attention brought fresh scrutiny, and mixed with the spotlight came a multitude of expectations. Backstage, she encountered the AI's creators, inquisitive minds eager to delve into her thought process. They didn't see her singular identity as a Maid's child but focused on the brilliance that had ignited the AI's performance. But just as she reveled in this new acknowledgement, a voice, a sharp, antagonistic reminder from a familiar corner of her past, pierced through. One of her former classmates, emboldened and glaring, stepped forward. So you think this one moment makes you untouchable? You're still tied to where you came from. Mia's heart quickened, the interplay of fear and determination igniting once more. She stood at a crossroads. Would she accept this newfound validation or let it be overshadowed by the remnants of doubt that followed her? As she opened her mouth to respond, a weighty silence weighed in the air, heavy with desperation and resolution. This was only the beginning of her fight, and she was not about to retreat. What was she willing to risk for the truths she now knew? Mia felt the intensity of her former classmate's gaze piercing through her. The confidence she'd clawed back felt like a fragile veneer, ready to shatter under scrutiny. Yet, she could not let this opportunity slip through her fingers. Not today, not after everything she had fought for. She inhaled deeply, fingertips twitching as she invited the current to her resolve. You're right, Mia replied, her voice steady, cutting through the tension in the air. I am tied to my past. But it won't define my future. The crowd, a sea of raised eyebrows and intrigued expressions, stirred at her response. Tension crackled like static, but Mia didn't shy away. Each word hung in the air, weighing heavily, but also electrifyingly liberating. Her journey had certainly begun with her background, one filled with limitations, but this growing fire within her needed to be shared, loud enough to drown doubt. The audience was expecting her to falter, to stumble like so many before her. Instead, she stood firm, emboldened. The ex-classmate smirked, as if waiting for a comeback, the corners of her mouth twisted in familiar skepticism. But rather than shrinking under that glare, Mia felt her body shift, empowering her stance. She was no longer a passive observer of her own life but a player armed with data, knowledge, and intuition. And for the first time, she embraced the full weight of her narrative, a weapon against anyone who dared undermine her. Behind the curtain, the creators of the AI had not only witnessed her technical prowess but now glimpsed her spirit, her determination, manifesting in her words. Their expressions shifted, she could sense them processing this moment with awe, perhaps learning more from her than they thought possible. Mia continued, feeling each syllable build. I've learned to navigate complex systems, not just machines but life itself. Every keystroke, every setback, has taught me to solve problems creatively. I may be from a world that few take seriously, but that world has equipped me with a skill set that is anything but ordinary. As her voice grew in confidence, she saw heads nodding in the crowd, recognition, maybe even respect. There was empowerment in articulation, she noted. Each moment lingered, charged with potentiality that could go either way. This was her test not of intelligence, but of her core values. How deeply rooted was her conviction to rewrite her legacy? She thinks she can escape it all with this one victory, the former classmate retorted dryly, but it merely served to fortify Mia's resolve. Fighting the urge to engage further with her distractor, she focused inwardly. It wasn't just about this confrontation anymore. It was about her commitment to push boundaries, to relentlessly pursue opportunities that lay far beyond the horizon of her humble beginnings. As the crowd's chatter swelled, Mia stepped off the stage and into an uncertain future yet glimmering with hope. While the applause faded, and the competitive energy transformed into whispers of doubt and ambition, her mind raced with thoughts of new beginnings. The AI's creators approached her, eyes brightened with enthusiasm. Mia, we'd love to discuss how we can incorporate your ideas into our next project, one of them said, leaning closer, clearly impressed by her performance. I'm interested, she replied, a newfound fierceness igniting her tone, sparking curiosity. She was driven to not only prove herself further but to redefine her path throughout the tech world. But just as she prepared to delve deeper into the conversation, she caught sight of her ex-classmate lurking, not far from where she stood, an unsettling intent lurking in her eyes. Mia's heart raced. What kind of game was playing out now? And what would it demand from her next? The stakes had risen, and she could sense that the shadows from her past were not done haunting her just yet. The fight was far from over, she could feel it in her bones. Would she buckle under the weight of expectations, or could she rise again, transforming challenges into strategic opportunities? She stepped forward, ready to engage, her heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the moment, every second threading a new chapter yet to be written. The moment Mia spotted her ex-classmate's lingering presence, a chill enveloped her. She squared her shoulders, confronting the unexpected disruption. This confrontation was not simply a remnant of the past, it echoed the unresolved battles that lay buried within. Determined not to retreat, she stood tall, fueled by the adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was more than an impromptu skirmish, it was a pivotal confrontation within the greater narrative of her life. As she engaged with the creators, their hopeful expressions fueled her ambition. Each detail of their discussion slotted into place, forming the framework of a potential partnership that could change everything. They tossed around ideas, and the notions sprouted, intertwining with Mia's own aspirations. She envisioned herself at the forefront of innovations, steering the design of an AI that could reshape industries, break boundaries that previously confined her, and perhaps even alter how her childhood community viewed technology. Amidst the exchange, however, the nagging presence of her ex-classmate lurked like a specter, a reminder that there were no easy victories. Mia shifted her focus. She needed to separate her future from her past, and that required strategy. With an analytical lens, she determined her next step. Could she use this confrontation to her advantage? The realization hit her, she needed to leverage the doubts swirling within her rivals to strengthen her resolve. "Tell me more about how your project aligns with current trends," she asked, directing a cunning smile towards the group. She ignored her ex-classmates' palpable sneer, keen to extract insights while simultaneously gauging how they viewed her ideas. The creators opened up, revealing their vision, their hesitations, and the challenges they faced. Information Mia instinctively filed away for future use.as they spoke, her mind raced through the implications. How could she innovate beyond the limitations they placed, not just now, but well into the future? With each word shared by the creators, she formulated a strategy. It was time for her to contribute ideas that not only resonated with their ambitions but also highlighted her unique perspective, one forged in the crucible of adversity. "I believe there's a unique pathway we could explore with user-generated data," she articulated carefully, presenting her thoughts with measured confidence. "If we approach programming as a collaborative journey, we can draw insights that traditional methods overlook. My background enables me to see potential where others might just see obstacles. If we integrate community feedback into our framework, we'll foster a sense of ownership that can launch this project into the stratosphere." The creators leaned in closer, their interest piqued. This was the spark she needed to demonstrate her distinct value, but she remained acutely aware of her ex-classmates' scrutinizing gaze behind them. Something about that glare unsettled Mia. It was a reminder that her journey was riddled with challenges, and this wasn't the final battle. There was an intensity in the air, a palpable tension that made her heart race. The conversation continued, but her instincts kicked in. She needed to stay alert, to anticipate not just the dialogue unfolding before her but also the potential moves of an adversary who had become more than a mere figure from her past. In the tech industry, as in life, the road to success was fraught with hidden agendas and competitive rivalries, and Mia had to navigate it adeptly. Just as she was about to use the momentum to further her ideas, her phone buzzed in her pocket, a message breaking her focus. She didn't need to look, she needed to stay present, yet the impulse to check was overwhelming. "Are you with us, Mia?" one of the creators asked, interrupting her spiraling thoughts. "Yes, absolutely. I'm all in," she replied, forcing a smile, but inside, she wrestled with what awaited her on that screen. Was it an urgent message from a client? Or perhaps signaling a potential collaboration that could elevate her aspirations? The uncertain message loomed larger every second. In that moment, the stakes shifted again. Not only was she on the cusp of transforming her professional fate, but she was also rekindling a personal reckoning that begged her to confront the haunting shadows. With a quick breath, Mia steadied herself again, internally vowing to embrace whatever challenge arose next. She would make her mark. This was not merely a fight for recognition but a transformative journey into becoming more than just the sum of her past experiences. But before she could ponder further, her ex-classmate approached, a sly grin on her face that suggested a new tactic. "Thought you could steal the show, didn't you?" she taunted. "Let's see how long this lasts." Mia's pulse quickened. The unwelcome reminder of her past had transformed into a challenge she couldn't ignore. Her resolve solidified. The next moves would define her trajectory, and within this chaotic framework lay her imminent discovery, calling her to own her evolution, both personally and professionally. The time was primed for a decisive confrontation. What awaited her next would tip the scales in unpredictable ways, each interaction loaded with steep potential. The moment to face that harsh reality had come. What would she reveal about herself when pushed to the brink? Mia's heart raced as she met her ex-classmate's gaze. The taunt hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in disdain. It threatened to unravel her focus, yet it ignited a fierce determination within her. Facing down the embodiment of her past was now unavoidable, but there was a flicker of anticipation nestled among her anxiety, a chance to redefine herself in this pivotal moment. "Is that what you think?" she asked, steadying her voice, channeling her surprise into strength. "I'm here to collaborate, to elevate this project, not to outshine anyone." The creators observed the exchange, an unspoken tension suffusing the room. Mia could feel their eyes shift back and forth, and she realized this was not just about her response, it was about the perception of her potential by the people who could propel her career forward. She had to prove herself not only as a team player but as an essential architect in this unfolding venture. With a subtle shift in her posture, Mia directed her gaze to the group. I understand that bringing different perspectives into this project will drive innovation. Perhaps we can brainstorm ways to incorporate feedback in real time. If we can iterate quickly, we will stay ahead of the competition, she suggested, re-establishing control of the narrative. They responded positively, fueling her confidence and overshadowing her ex-classmate's presence, even if only for a moment. She was drafting her blueprint. This was not merely about technological advancement but a reclamation of her identity. It was stepping beyond her formative limitations, navigating a terrain that once felt constrictive. Can we address how feedback loops can not only refine our AI's capabilities but also empower users? She pressed further, her thoughts crystallizing. Imagine if we could create a platform where everyday users contribute to the learning process. It's a symbiotic existing model, a community-first approach that could be our industry's game changer. It's tomorrow's answer, not today's imitation. Mia felt herself becoming animated, the fire of her passion permeating her words. The creators leaned in, their intrigued expressions sparking something inside her that had long been dormant. This was what she wanted, a chance to innovate, to push the boundaries of conventional thought by using her unique vantage point, yet, the specter of her ex-classmate lingered, inspiration and doubt intermingling. Each glance towards her opponent reminded Mia that the stakes were not solely professional, her journey was underscored by personal narratives and deep-seated fears she couldn't ignore. Could she truly navigate this labyrinth of expectations and confrontations? As the dialogue flowed, Mia became acutely aware of the time. She hadn't checked her phone, she couldn't afford any distractions now. The barrage of thoughts crashed through her mind. What if the message was critical? What if it held answers or more complications, or worse, another disappointment? The resilience she had summoned faced a test she had not anticipated. A flood of emotions surged as she weighed her priorities. She fought against the impulse to reach for her phone, grounding herself in the moment. I need to remain focused, she silently reminded herself. The future of this project, my aspirations, they matter more than a fleeting distraction. Drawing breath, Mia regained her composure. She needed to rid herself of any lingering trepidation. The potential for innovation swirled around her, executing her vision became paramount, time slipped away like grains of sand, and the creators initiated a rapid exchange of ideas, their enthusiasm infectious. Ideas bounced around the room. This was synergy in action, as much hers as anyone else's. She inserted her observations strategically, emphasizing collaboration and community as central themes, but still, there was worry lingering in the back of her thoughts. Would her ex-classmate undermine this fragile alliance? Just then, her ex-classmate interjected, an unsettling gleam in her eye as she pivoted back to the past. It's cute, Mia, really. But have you thought about what you'll do when this is all over? What will be left for you? The question cut deep, pricking the evolving sense of self-esteem she had been cultivating. It echoed the very doubts she was trying to stifle, and for a split second, the fear surged. Would she ever truly escape from the shadows of her past? Taking a deep breath at the inflection point, Mia squared her shoulders and cleared her throat, ready to counteract the doubt with conviction. That's exactly why it's so important for me to succeed here. No matter what comes next, I want to know that I've made a substantial impact, one that matters. The room held its breath, anticipation electrifying the air. A new determination surged within her, one that potentially transcended not only her ambition but the conflicts ignited by her past. If she could pivot this moment into a launching pad for her ideas, perhaps this would be her breakthrough. As she steeled herself to challenge her ex-classmate and secure her vision for the project, a new notification lit up her phone, urgent, demanding attention. Suddenly, the outcome of her present collided with the unknown of her future, leaving everything hanging by a thread. Would she dare to confront the chaos waiting at her fingertips, or would she remain anchored in the potential of what she was forging here? The next exchange could reshape everything. Mia's thoughts raced. The moment had come. Would she seize it, or would the shadows of her past intervene once more? Mia's heart thudded in her chest as she fought the impulse to glance at her phone. The temptation was magnetic. But she clung to her newfound resolve. She felt the collective energy in the room, a potent mix of ambition and innovation. This was not the time to falter. "Let us focus on what we can achieve together," she said, her voice resonating with an unwavering steadiness. "How about brainstorming user engagement strategies? If we can tap into user insights early in our development phase, we could refine our product and create something genuinely valuable." Eyes bright with interest, the creators nodded and began throwing out ideas, each suggestion weaving into Mia's vision. She was no longer just participating, she was orchestrating. Every voice counted, and Mia felt herself at the helm of a forward momentum she desperately needed. Yet, her ex-classmate's presence loomed like a cloud on the horizon. The sharpness in her voice cut through the synergy like a chill breeze. "But what if users don't engage? You can try for innovation, but if the audience rebounds, it just wasted effort." Mia swallowed hard, feeling doubt once more creeping in. The words echoed her underlying fear: what if this all fell apart? But burying her uncertainty would only stifle the progress they had made. This wasn't about just product development, this was her moment to confront those inner demons. "That's precisely why feedback is vital," she countered, grounding herself with logic she firmly believed in. "By integrating their input, we ensure relevance. We're not just creating a tool, we're fostering a community around it." No longer caring if she was being perceived as confrontational, Mia's tone sharpened with conviction. "Disregarding potential user concerns means potentially limiting our growth. Isn't that the biggest risk here?" The team buzzed with approval, and Mia felt a flicker of pride. This was empowerment inspired by passion and reinforced with strategy. She had claimed her space not only in the conversation but within herself. As the dialogue resumed, the ideas snowballed into tangible strategies. Mia's clarity of thought finding rhythm in the collective brainstorm. She seized the moment, lavishing attention on other members' proposals, encouraging contributions that could cultivate a sense of ownership among the team. Behind the professional growth, a disturbing whisper of fear waned in and out of her consciousness. What awaited her after this? The question coiled around her thoughts, ever tightening. Would there be recognition of her contributions, or would she fall back into obscurity? She winced at the implication of her ex-classmate's earlier words. It lingered like a loose thread begging to be pulled. Before she could dwell on the uncertainty, a cacophony of voices jolted Mia back to the room. Ideas ricocheted across the table, each one building on the next. "What if we gamified the feedback process?" proposed a programmer. "Imagine offering incentives for users to share their insights." Mia felt a thrill. Yes, that could transform their product into a user-engaged phenomenon. Absolutely. "We can harness behavioral economics to spark engagement." A reward-based model could keep users both involved and invested. "Let us flesh this out." Ideas continued to flourish, and with each contribution, Mia felt herself evolving. She was defining her professional narrative in real time, one where she both led and uplifted others. The concern for her reputation faded under the weight of her active role. She was becoming the strategist she had always aspired to be, yet the siren call of her phone loomed ominously, still igniting concern. What news awaited her there? In this pivotal moment where she was carving out her future, she could drown all distractions. Could she dare to ignore it? As she felt the momentum swell among her peers, a sense of exultation washed over her. Just as she was about to share her next idea, another notification flashed, a familiar name. Suddenly, this moment of triumph teetered precariously, teetering between her long-sought success and a hurricane of doubt. Would she grasp the opportunity of professional expansion or succumb to the unresolved questions of her personal world? The tipping point lay right before her. Mia hesitated, her heart racing as she stared at the notification on her phone. The familiar name sent a dart of panic straight to her chest, a jolt of anxiety that disrupted her newfound confidence. It would be easy to dismiss the message, to lean into the excitement brewing around the table. A cascade of ideas was sparking innovative pathways toward their goal, yet here she was, fixated on an uncertainty that threatened to unravel everything she had worked for. She had had moments like this before, where the fear of judgment or failure loomed larger than the possibilities for success. But the exhilaration in the room reminded her of a profound truth: she was not the same person she had been back then. Pulling herself back to the present, she took a deep breath, focusing on the weight of her contributions and her role as a facilitator. Mia. A voice pulled her from her thoughts, and she met the eager gaze of one of her colleagues. Do you think we could not only gamify the feedback but also integrate it into our social media strategy? Perhaps using social platforms to broaden our reach? Yes, she exclaimed, waving away her distractions as enthusiasm surged within her. That's a killer angle. If we can create shareable content that ties in the user experience, we can leverage our current users to attract new ones. Let's draft a campaign that showcases our integration process. Inspired, the team moved with fervor, diving into the details. The ideas began tumbling out, vibrant and dynamic, as Mia commandeered the discussion. Each comment built upon the last, and she felt an electric connection between herself and her teammates, a synergy that pulsated with potential, yet a glance at her phone nudged her concern back into the forefront of her mind. What was so urgent that it demanded her attention now? She struggled internally, the value of the present collaboration versus the echoes of her unresolved anxiety. Deciding to shift her focus, she pressed on. Every ounce of momentum they built tilted the balance toward her professional aspirations, but uncertainty lingered insistently at the edge of her consciousness. As the brainstorming session reached a fever pitch, Mia stopped suddenly. She needed to confront this head-on. I know we're on a roll, but I want to open the floor. If anyone feels uncomfortable with our direction or has doubts, let us address them now. I genuinely believe in collaboration, and that means we can't ignore potential pitfalls. The room fell silent for a moment, with a collective breath taken. Her words hung in the air, crystallizing the team's camaraderie and commitment to vulnerability. A couple of heads nodded, and another team member finally spoke up. What if we spend too much time on ideas that don't resonate with users? We need that guiding star of user culture to stay focused. That's crucial insight, Mia replied, her pulse steadying. We can structure checkpoints where we gather feedback throughout our process. That way, if something doesn't land as we anticipate, we can pivot without substantial loss of time or resources. She felt her confidence swell, invigorated by their shared openness. It was a tangible evolution not just for her but for the entire team. She was helping to cultivate a culture that embraced not only success but also uncertainty, and then she felt the tug again, the notification pulsing beneath the surface of her professional clarity. It was a reminder that her personal life was still an unresolved equation, one she had poured energies into before finding this place of empowerment, but she couldn't let that interfere with the momentum they had created. This was her moment to rise, not just for herself but for those around her who had begun to see her as a leader. But how long could she hold her dual realities in a delicate balance without allowing one to overshadow the other? The session continued, and as ideas flew, Mia noticed the door to the conference room was gradually opening due to a draft. Was someone else joining the conversation? Or was it simply a reminder that new thoughts could enter at any moment, whether welcomed or unwelcome? The following moments, filled with innovation and hope, left her both giddy and fearful. What would happen when she had to confront the unresolved questions that lurked behind her professional accomplishments? Somewhere, the notification still pulsed, waiting patiently to disrupt the revelations of her growth. The time was approaching when she would have to face what lay on the other side of this threshold. Would it be an opportunity to redefine herself further or spiral back into the shadows of her fears? As the brainstorming session closed, Mia felt exhilarated. Ideas once dormant had sprung to life, and the collaboration felt electric, but in this moment of triumph, the familiar weight of her unresolved personal issues slumped onto her shoulders like a suffocating cloak. Distracted by the pulsating notification on her phone, she caught herself wondering whether it had been a mistake to dig so deep into this public sphere of bravado when her internal world still lay in disarray. after saying her goodbyes to her colleagues, she strode out of the conference room, trying to grapple with the heady mix of joy, pride, and the tightening grip of anxiety. Each step felt paradoxical. She was creating a new path in her career while feeling tethered to the past, particularly to that message, a reminder of old ghosts she hadn't fully buried. Back at her desk, Mia sighed and let the tension release through her fingertips as she hovered over her phone. She was torn, wanting to lose herself in the work that now inspired her, yet compelled to confront the bottled-up fears hidden just beneath her surface. The notification, still blinking with an inviting urgency, whispered to her, "You can't keep running forever." What had started as a tentative journey into leadership was morphing into a gnawing reality. Every moment spent delving into creativity and collaboration pulled her further away from acknowledging her unresolved feelings. She could feel the edges of her confidence fraying as a simultaneous wave of tension coursed through her. Taking a deep breath, she clicked on the notification, her heart racing as the screen illuminated the caller ID. It was her mother. Memories flooded back, pleas for help, judgment cloaked in care. Voicemails filled with "I told you so" echoing in her mind. Their relationship had been littered with misunderstandings, rooted in preconceived notions that had long shaped how she viewed her worth. With cautious deliberation, Mia pressed the "call back" button, no more avoiding the conversations that had to take place. As the phone rang, she visualized the brave persona she had embraced in that conference room, not just someone leading a team, but a woman learning to reclaim her narrative. "Mom," she said when the call connected, attempting to project stability that she didn't yet feel. "Mia. I didn't think you'd answer," her mother's voice crackled on the other end, laced with surprise. "I've been trying to reach you." "I know," Mia replied, her voice steadying. "I've been busy, but I didn't want to hide any longer." "Busy doing what?" There was a tension in her mother's tone that made Mia's stomach churn. "Building something new," she said, threading conviction into her words. "I'm leading a project at work that's going to change things for us. I want to share what I'm doing, and I want your input." A beat of silence passed, then her mother exhaled. "Well, that sounds promising. But what about the responsibilities here? We could really use your help at home." Mia felt a rush of indignation, but she inhaled deeply, reminding herself of the progress she'd made. "I understand that, Mom. But I have commitments that matter to me. I can't be present in two places at once." The conversation rolled with its ebbs and flows, punctuated by a mixture of vulnerability and resistance. She found herself focusing less on proving herself to her mother and more on asserting her own desires and boundaries. Each word that flowed from her mouth solidified both her stance as a professional and a daughter eager to define her own life. When the call finally ended, Mia felt a complex whirl of emotions. She'd taken a step, there was no denying that she was evolving. Yet beneath that newfound determination lay the uncomfortable tension of unresolved conflict, coaxing her to confront more than just professional obstacles. What lay in the crevices of her personal life needed resolution too. As she sat at her desk, vibrating with emotions both high and low, the glow of her computer screen demanded her attention. Yet it wasn't the work that called, rather the notion that this was just the beginning. She would need to dig deeper, face the challenges within, and discover how her past shaped her future. And as she poised herself to dive back into her projects, a new realization dawned. She was ready to confront her own narrative, not just as a leader at work, but as a woman reclaiming her identity. What she had to confront was not just her mother's expectations but her deepest fears about failure and rejection that still loomed large. What awaited her was not merely a professional challenge, but an essential reckoning with her own self that could quite possibly redefine everything she had ever known. The journey to balance her professional triumphs with personal truths had only just begun. Were the revelations ahead worth the risk? With each step forward, she sensed the threshold beckoning her to a moment of truth unlike any other. As the days unfolded, Mia felt the relentless pressure of her dual existence. The project at work took shape with each passing meeting, instilling a spark of enthusiasm that she hadn't experienced in years. However, amid the exhilaration, the shadows of her unresolved conflicts lingered like stubborn phantoms, always returning to haunt her. When the adrenaline faded, she found herself spending late nights at the office, poring over presentations and drafting proposals. Her creativity flowed effortlessly, the work a delightful escape, but it came at a cost. Each moment of triumph was punctuated by nagging thoughts of her mother's disapproval, intertwining with memories of expectations that felt insurmountable. Mia wasn't just navigating a new professional landscape, she was also charting the tumultuous waters of her own sense of self-worth. One evening, after an intense brainstorming session with her team, Mia sat in a nearly deserted office. The atmosphere, once fueled by collaboration, now felt suffocatingly quiet. The incompletion of her personal life clawed at her mind, demanding attention. She grabbed her phone again, hesitating before scrolling through her contacts. It wasn't just her mother, it was her father too, his silence a chasm that echoed her feelings of inadequacy. No more avoiding, she whispered to herself, steeling her resolve. This wasn't just about sparking innovation at work, it was about taking control of her narrative, confronting the elements of her life that still felt so fragile. With determination, she tapped out a text message to her father, asking to meet. It was a risk, one that sent her heart racing with both excitement and dread. What if his responses echoed her mother's? What if he shrugged off her attempts for connection? Yet that uncertainty was overshadowed by the necessity for resolution, a need for clarity in her familial bonds. The next day, she wrestled with her nerves as the meeting approached. Mia combed through her thoughts and feelings, preparing for the inevitable questions about her career and choices. She hadn't been prepared for their understanding, she had only fixated on their expectations. Her mother's call lingered in her mind. Why had she let those words dictate her worth for so long? When the hour finally arrived, she met him in a small cafe, the familiar surroundings stirring childhood memories. The scent of coffee and baked goods filled the air, yet her stomach churned. As she watched her father walk in, the weight of their past hung in the air. His expression was hard to read, shrouded with years of unmet expectations. "Hey, Dad," Mia greeted him, trying to maintain a light-hearted demeanor. "Hi, Mia. You've been busy, huh?" His attempt at a casual tone only deepened the undercurrent of tension. "Yeah, a lot going on at work. I wanted to talk about us." She felt her voice straining under the weight of unsaid truths. "Us?" he echoed, brow furrowing as he took a sip of coffee. "I'm trying to make choices that feel right to me, not what I think you want from me. I know I've stayed away. I've allowed so much to keep me from connecting with you," she confessed, barely keeping the tremor from her voice. His eyes softened. Was it regret? Before she could ponder it further, he cleared his throat and spoke. "I'm proud of you, Mia. I really am. But I also worry. You started this journey alone," and his voice trailed off, leaving a heavy silence. This moment, raw and brimming with vulnerability, was not what she anticipated. Mia realized that the expectations she had let shape her identity might not align with how they viewed her now. It was an opening, a flicker of hope that she might not be alone in her struggle. "I don't want to lose sight of what I love for the sake of pleasing anyone else." "Not anymore," she stated, her resolve sharpening like a blade. There was a pause. The barista's chatter faded into the background as Mia and her father regarded one another, a barrier between them cracked and fragile, yet somehow stronger than before. "You deserve to pursue what makes you happy, Mia. Just know that you have my support," he finally said, and though the words felt uneven, they struck a chord deep within her. It wouldn't erase years of misunderstanding, but it was a beginning, a foothold in the labyrinth of their relationship. As they talked, she sensed a shift within herself, a burgeoning acceptance that perhaps she could define her narrative without the weight of old expectations. Yet, as the conversation delved deeper, her apprehension didn't dissipate, it transformed. She fought to place her needs at the forefront, questioning everything she thought she knew about her parents' perceptions of her. Driving home, she considered the linkage between family ties and her ambitions. What would happen if she fully embraced her own identity, leaving behind the shadows of past judgments? With a sense of urgency blossoming inside her, she prepared to embrace the revelations that awaited. As she stared at the skyline through her car window, a thought struck her. It was time to build a new relationship, not just with her parents, but with herself. The journey ahead promised confrontation, maturation, and perhaps liberation, wrapped in uncertainty. And with that realization, she felt the stirrings of courage within her. The next step was never as simple as it appeared, and the path blurred with complexities. What awaited her was not merely a matter of asserting her desires, but learning to dance with those she loved while staying true to herself. The question now lingered: was she truly prepared for this new chapter that could rewrite her entire narrative? In the weeks that followed, Mia's world transformed into a vibrant tapestry of possibilities woven through each decision and action she took. As she delved deeper into her project, she had established herself not merely as a participant but as an integral player, a force to be reckoned with in the tech landscape she once viewed from the periphery. Her innovative user-centered approach was gaining traction, and little by little, every success broke down the emotional barriers that had kept her tethered to her past. Mia's voice resonated in boardrooms filled with seasoned executives, her ideas garnering attention and respect. She had learned that her perspective, one shaped by a childhood of service, offered insights that were often overlooked by those seated at the decision-making tables. Each presentation became a declaration of her identity, a staunch refusal to be defined solely by her origins. She was no longer the cleaner's kid, she was Mia, a visionary determined to leave her mark. Months later, as the project launched successfully amidst accolades, Mia felt an unexpected wave of fulfillment wash over her. The numbers exceeded projections, and the feedback from users were not only enthusiastic but also impactful. They resonated with her vision of tech as a bridge, not a barrier, transforming the landscape for everyday users and involving them in the narrative of innovation. This was more than professional validation, it was the moment she proved to herself that dreams could materialize through hard work and genuine passion. In the heat of these achievements, however, she faced a parallel journey filled with introspection. Her encounter with her father had not only rekindled a connection but opened the door to a new understanding. They resumed their dialogues, and with each conversation, Mia shared more of her experiences, aspirations, and fears. Their relationship evolved from a series of strained moments into a partnership grounded in support and understanding. One afternoon, as they sat in the cafe where it all began, her father leaned forward, visibly impressed. "Mia, what you've achieved is nothing short of inspiring. You've proven that with determination, the walls that once held you back can become the very foundation of your success." "Yes," she replied, pride welling within her. "And it's a constant journey, one where I'm learning to speak my truth and assert my needs." That acknowledgement felt liberating. By asserting her voice, she found a celestial avenue to redefine her narrative, a journey that embraced not only her professional aspirations but her personal healing as well. This newfound familiarity with herself granted her the confidence to step forward, unencumbered by the judgments that had once haunted her. As her project continued to thrive, she received an invitation to speak at an upcoming technology conference, an opportunity to share her journey and insights with a broader audience. Standing backstage amidst murmurs of anticipation, Mia inhaled deeply. This was not merely another platform, it was a culmination of everything she had overcome. The thoughts of self-doubt that once clawed at her edges were rendered powerless by the surge of accomplishment that enveloped her. When the time came, Mia approached the microphone, the audience's eyes fixated on her. "I stand before you today, not merely as a product of my circumstances but as a testament to resilience and the power of pursuing one's dreams," she began. Her words flowed freely, imbued with the authenticity cultivated through her struggles and triumphs. As she spoke, Mia reflected on her journey, the challenges, the breakthroughs, and the unwavering support from within and outside. Every sentence was a brushstroke solidifying her transformation, the culmination of countless nights spent coding, questioning, and redefining her relationship with her past. And as she concluded her talk, the applause resonated through the auditorium. It wasn't merely an acknowledgement of her words but a recognition of her metamorphosis. When she stepped off that stage, Mia felt an unwavering sense of confidence take root within her, an assurance that she belonged exactly where she was meant to be. She had truly conquered the emotional confines of her upbringing. She was not just achieving professional success, she was harvesting a deeper connection with herself and her family. Her mother's surprise visit to her workplace that day to witness her presentation radiated warmth amid the formal environment. They shared a quiet moment, an acknowledgement of growth, mutual respect, and emerging hope. Mia, "I'm so proud of you," her mother said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. Mia smiled, reflecting on how far they had come. "Thank you, Mom. Together, we've paved a different path, one where I can always reach for more." Understood fully, this was the essence of her journey. It was impossible to escape her roots, yet she had learned to embrace them, turning them into sources of strength and insight that propelled her forward. Mia's life had become a mosaic of both personal and professional triumphs, each piece glistening with the colors of her experiences, aspirations, and profound growth. She had achieved not only her dreams but had redefined what success meant, an amalgamation of resilience, authenticity, and a newfound agency. This was her testimony, forever inked in the story of her life. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Every action counts. Comment your reactions and theories about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share.